Hey everybody, I'm Grandmaster Ben Feingold here with 5 Minutes with Ben, and I'm Ben. As you all know, the World Cup is going on, and some of you might not know, there's a lot of upsets. In fact, there's so many upsets, my dogs won't stop barking. So you're going to hear the dogs barking throughout the video because they can't believe how many upsets there are in the World Cup. Anyway, most videos on the internet that have to do with chess are professionally produced and have good sound quality, good video quality, and you know, if you want that, then that's, frankly ridiculous. But if you want dogs barking in the background, then you've found your niche. Okay, speaking of a niche, he also got knocked out. Okay, so as you all know, which means like 1% of you know, there's a German Grandmaster brothers, and I can't pronounce their last name. I think it's a Svane, but maybe it's not. It's Svane, and there's Frederik Svane, and there's Rasmus Svane, and their ratings are very similar. So I don't actually know which one's better. However, I know which one beat the world champion. God damn. So maybe he's better because he beat the world champion. Man, you're number 2 in your family, but you beat the number 1 player in the world. Okay, this position, black's better because black has a better king, and black's pawn majority on the king side is actually worthwhile, whereas Gukesh's pawn majority on the queen side, that's not cutting the mustard. Okay, this position, the engine says white is slightly worse, and white should be able to draw the game if he plays rook h1, putting it in h. Then the rook can activate on the h file, since that's the only open file on the board, other than the d file, which black already has. So black's better here, but the engine says with perfect play, white should be able to hold a draw. Okay, Gukesh made a mistake. He played rook e1, which doesn't really have anything to do with the position. Just random rook move. It's move 39, so he was probably in time trouble, and he made a rook move. Okay, Svane, if that's how you pronounce his name. Of course, if you're German, you can go into the comments and say, it's not Svane, you idiot, it's Svane, it's Svan, But, it has an A with an E at the end, so you would think, unless I'm insane. That's one of my favorite jokes that I made up. Where do you put 10 crazy Germans? In the insane asylum. There's 10 of them. Insane. If you speak German, you almost get that joke. Germans don't like that joke because the pronunciation of Svane, the number for 10, and the word insane doesn't sound alike to them. Insane and Svane. Okay. Anyway, black used his pawn majority on the king side. Svane played g3 check. Then he traded rooks. Rook e3 check. The problem with white's position is actually pretty funny. Unless you have the white pieces, then it's less funny. Problem is, the g2 pawn is weak. And if black ever plays knight h4 or knight e3, that would be annoying. The other problem is, for white doesn't have any active play. White's just sitting here and hoping to draw. Usually that doesn't work. Okay, So the players didn't do much the next few moves. King e6, knight e7, knight f5. I told you that knight was going to go to h4, e3. You didn't believe me, but he's doing it. Knight check, knight back to e4. Always repeat. Okay, now in this position, white played knight takes c5, which doesn't really hurt. Knight e4, b6. Now, probably white's losing, frankly, but his next move is a blunder, which just loses the game, and I don't understand it. Although, I guess he could have been in time trouble again, because it is move 50, and you get more time at move 40. So it could be that Gukesh was in time trouble again. I was explaining to you guys earlier the g2 pawn was weak, and black's going to play knight e3 or knight h4. And Gukesh, I guess, didn't hear my explanation since this game ended like 3 hours ago. And Gukesh played king d3, running away from his g-pawn. God damn. Okay, so that's not good. So then knight h4. Okay, knight h4 doesn't smell. nh3 smells. nh4 doesn't smell as much. That if you're ever taking some kind of chemistry test and they ask you which smells worse, nh3 or nh4, then you can see nh4 is a pretty good move. So it would be nh3 would be the one that smells. Okay, white needs to get counterplay, although it's too late. It's too late now. It's too late. Though he really did try to resign. Okay, so he played b4, getting counterplay on the queen side. Knight takes g2. He won his pawn back on the queen side. Knight e3. Now, black's threatening g2 and then g1 with advantage. So white only has one move, king e2. Now, if we play g2, you can play king f2, and you can stop the pawn. Svane played knight takes c4, and now white was in Svane in the membrane. Insane, got no a-pawn. Okay, and in this position, Gukesh resigned because the white king is tied down to the g-pawn. The black king is going to run up and attack the knight, and then white's going to lose his a-pawn because the knight has to be on c5 to protect the pawn, but king d6 kicks the knight out. Then we can just go take the pawn at our leisure. Then we'll have passed pawns on both sides of the board. And that's the end of Gukesh. Luckily, Gukesh can't qualify for the World Championship from the World Cup because he's already the world champion. So if Gukesh had come in the top 2 or 3 in the World Cup, he wouldn't have made it to the candidates because he's already the world champion. So it sort of begs the question why Gukesh even played in the tournament. It's a qualification tournament for the candidates, but he's already qualified past that. Anyway, that was round 3, which is pretty early for the world champion to lose, but the truth hurts. Sometimes in chess you lose. The only way to avoid losing is to not play. I think that was in War Games 1983. I'm Grandmaster Ben Feingold. I hope you enjoyed that game. World champion goes down. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment. And I'll see you guys next time with more upsets from the World Cup. Bye.